an anonymous NFL exec, Vish, I don't know if you heard this, but an anonymous NFL exec said that Washington could justify trading a first for Jimmy Garoppolo. Let's start right there. I mean, that would really be great news for the 49ers. Do you think Washington can justify trading a first for Jimmy Garoppolo?
From Washington's perspective, no. Because that first is the 11th overall pick. The 11th overall pick should be used to trade for all-pro players. It is the 11th overall pick. Like when we talk about the 2 first ordeal, right? Like when the Rams trade 2 first for Jalen Ramsey, I think on the value chart, the 11th overall pick is similar to 2 28th overall picks. Like it's a premium pick. Now, as a Niners fan, I'm ecstatic. Like, sure, Washington do it. Like you get a real starting quarterback, something you haven't had.
The Niners had the 12th pick last year, and they packaged that to get Trey Lance. Okay, all right, yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah, so I think that anonymous NFL executive might be Adam Peters, maybe John Lynch. You know, I'm joking. Maybe Parag Marathe. Again, I kid, but honestly, it's just I think Washington is desperate at this point. But the thing is, if you look at the quarterback deals that went down, right, Wentz was a conditional first, and then Stafford was the 2 firsts, and then I think a 3rd. But you're also talking about the first that they had to pay so that they can get rid of the albatross that is Jared Goff's contract, which, by the way, they just won a Super Bowl with their highest paid player being Jared Goff. If you want to know how bad Jared Goff is, you win more with him making a lot of money. Yeah. So, I mean, that's shocking. But I think that if you're Washington justifying trading for Garoppolo, like I guess I kind of get it, right? He's a proven winner. He's a proven starter. Washington has a roster that's supposedly ready, but they're just kind of a quarterback away. And that quarterback, we've seen Jimmy Garoppolo with a good roster and good support. You can win a lot of games with Jimmy Garoppolo. So I guess I get it from that standpoint. And then, you know, in the NFC East, you really have a good shot with Jimmy Garoppolo because the other 3 teams in that division, I mean, Dallas is pretty impressive, but the other 2...
You just beat Dallas, though, Vish, single-handedly. So, I mean, I can see it.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting thought. I think the Garoppolo conversation is always going to be about the other quarterbacks in the market. Garoppolo's value is going to be dictated by what happens with Rodgers, what happens with Russell Wilson, what happens with these other guys. Because they're Deshaun Watson, Brady, exactly. Yeah. So these guys are just... You know, these guys are much closer to franchise-level quarterbacks than him. And if you're Washington and you swing and a miss on all these guys, then you might be in a spot where Ron Rivera, you know, he might have to make the playoffs this year to keep his job, and he might become desperate. And he's like, well, that's a guy I can win with in Jimmy Garoppolo. He might not be, you know, the world's greatest quarterback, but 1 year, $25 million. His contract expires the next year. Let me just trade for him. And
let me ask you a question, though. It seems like what the Niners are hoping to get is what Philly got for Carson Wentz, right? The conditional first. Conditional, like if he plays, if he's healthy, if you make it to the playoffs, I think that's probably the best they can do. And I think I've heard a lot of people say, well, if Philly could get that for Wentz, why can't the Niners get that for Jimmy Garoppolo? Well, that just blew up in Indianapolis's face.
Right.
I don't think anyone's like we got to do what Indy did. We got to do the Carson Wentz thing. That doesn't really, I mean, it didn't work.
Right. And that's the exact point, right? Right. Like Philly did do it, and now people are looking at it and wow, like what? Indianapolis totally flopped with that one. And Philly did it right to Indianapolis. Like if Frank Reich was the one coach in the NFL that people thought could resurrect Carson Wentz, like it would be like Josh McDaniels trading for Jimmy Garoppolo, which apparently is not going to happen because they're talking about extending Derek Carr as we speak. So
Carr's better than Garoppolo.
Yeah, but easily.
Yeah. So
Carr's to me is a top 10 to 12 to 15 quarterback. Garoppolo is 15.
He's not much. He's not far behind Stafford, in my opinion, who just won the Super Bowl. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. Yeah. Anyway, so if the Niners can get this, great. My first cousin, Mike Dauber, shout out Mike Dauber, is a huge Washington fan. And I asked him a couple of weeks ago, like, how would you feel if your team traded for Jimmy Garoppolo? And he gave the Jim Carrey throwing up gif from Dumb and Dumber. Like, I don't see how any team could sell this to their fan base. Hey guys, we got Jimmy and we traded our first. I think most fans would be like, really? That's And the one more thing with Washington, last year they tried to do this with Fitzpatrick, who has similarities to Jimmy. And Fitzpatrick got hurt week 1. I mean, maybe they'll prioritize a guy with a history of durability for once.
Yeah, and that it's. I mean, they do run an offense at least that'll suit him. Scott Turner, like Jimmy Garoppolo, can play in that offense. I just don't see, if you're Washington, like I understand there's a thought process that might lead them there, but the only thought process that leads them there to me is desperation. Because if there's no way I'm offering the 11th overall pick for Jimmy Garoppolo until I waited out and swing and miss on Russell Wilson.
Swing and but if you miss out on those 3 guys and you don't like draft picks, which is definitely a position Washington could be in.
Yeah. But then they're still at the 11th overall pick. At this point in the draft, it's not really looked at as a quarterback's going in the top 5, or a quarterback is viewed as the 5th best or top 5 player in this draft. There's 2 teams. I mean, Jets have 2, I think, top 10 to 12 picks. I don't know the exact order. And same thing with the Giants. They both do. And it looks like the Giants are going to give Daniel Jones one more shot. And the Jets just drafted Zach Wilson. So the opportunity to move up and take Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis or whoever they're enamored with is still there. So they're like in an interesting spot. But I think this all falls back to they made the mistake of going in with Ryan Fitzpatrick last year. And I think we called that. But to be fair, their defense did not play as well as it did the year before. Their front four, which are supposed to be very dominant, wasn't a dominant unit. Some of their free agent signings like William Jackson and stuff did not, play to the caliber that a lot of people expected. So there's issues in Washington that went beyond the quarterback that people didn't anticipate prior to this year.